Welcome to episode 56 of Crave the Book. In today's episode, Amber and I cover chapters 69 through 72 of Tracy Wolff Covet. And in this episode, the gang finally makes it to the Dragon Court, only to be met by Neri and her guards. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, episode 56, and news and announcements. Fun news and fun announcements. Amber, do you want to tell them the fun news and fun announcements?
Yes, so the fun news and fun announcements is when you are listening to this episode. I mean, not right now, because I'm in the future. I will be in Barcelona, about 2 minutes breathing room from Tracy.
Breathing the same air.
I was such a stalker. I will be, staying very, very close to the book signing event in Barcelona, which is held at Fnac in the one of the shopping malls. Can't quite remember. And I will be in the queue waiting for my ticket if you so choose to come and join me. Hopefully I'll be recognizable, but if I'm not, I will try and find a stupid hat and take a selfie on the Instagram stories or something so that people remember what I look like. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It's the weirdest not holiday I've ever been on.
Yeah,
it was a very whirlwind.
Going alone to Spain to meet.
Yeah, and today is my wedding anniversary, and I am flying out the next day to the city where I was proposed to on my own. And Mr. Amber Marie gave me some spending money towards some Spanish versions of the books as well. So
does Tracy have a translator?
I don't know, but I'm not volunteering.
I was going to say you could stand there the whole time and translate.
God, no. I would offend both people somehow. When I say I'm fluent, it's definitely conversationally, and normally when I get to a word, like a stumbling block word, where I'm like, I don't know the direct translation of it, I will do the longest route around that word to describe what I mean. And then the other person just stares at me and goes, do you mean this? And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah,
I do. That word, sure. Yeah, it's definitely something that you have to kind of lean into as well. So day one, within the first 24 hours, I am so rusty because it's obviously a completely change in scenery. And it's usually by like day 2 or 3 when I start going, okay, I remember this. I'm getting back into the swing of this. And that's usually when I leave. So hopefully I won't offend anybody. Please feel free to come and speak to me in Spanish, but lentamente, por despacio, por favor. Because it's a very jolting thing to be suddenly spoken to in another language. Although you recognize it and you know it intimately, you almost have to have that forewarning that you're about to be spoken at. Otherwise, you have no idea what you're saying.
You have to have a chance to change your frequency.
Yes. Yes. Because it's like tuning in a radio.
Yeah, yeah.
And the longer you drive, and the longer you drive towards a town that has the better signal, the more secure that frequency is. And you're like, okay, yes, I've got that perfect signal now that I can hear my song. But then again, you drive further away again, and the signal just dies, and you get rusty again.
All right. Yeah. So go startle Amber.
Yes.
Startle her. She really likes to be afraid in public, so go up behind her and yell "boo" really loud. It's her favorite thing in the whole world.
We should try. It's like come up with like maybe just say cangrejo, which is crab. Cangrejo. just jump up and say cangrejo. What's were in Spanish? There you go. This is werewolf in Spanish. I'm imagining it's like something hombre lobo. So is it hombre cangrejo? Man crab.
Man crab. Crab people. Crab people.
I would cry with laughter if somebody just jumps on me and goes, hombre cangrejo. Even funnier if you said it in English, like directly translated. Man crab.
Man crab, man crab, man crab. All right, guys, and I don't know if I'll be. I'm going to attempt to go to the Pittsburgh, December 2nd. Meet and greet. It will be at a Barnes and Noble, but no promises. But if you are going to the Pittsburgh one, feel free to post in the Crave the Book Podcast tea room on Facebook. And yeah, we can maybe collab if I can end up making my schedule align with all that. But
it's sad because you would definitely be better at the leading of an interview than I am.
Well,
I'm very much I will interject with stupidity every now and then.
I want to go. I really do. But it is a drive in the winter in traffic with my entire family. Like, it's not just going to be me. It's going to be me and husband and child. So we'll see. I really want to go, but we'll see. Okay, so we're entering like some of the best chapters of the book, which is fun. We didn't quite get there today, but last week, Amber, we didn't do a spoiler alert, and it was
Did we not?
No. I just had to throw the howl into a random part. So,
oh no.
For everybody who hasn't read all of Covet or Court, Amber, do you want to go ahead and give them? Actually, do we have? We don't have any Court spoilers in this.
No. No, we don't.
Okay, so you might actually be safe if you haven't read Court, unless we decide to come up with something
it's
else.
Literally, and to be honest, the spoiler that I had written was only a spoiler because I didn't know why he looked uncomfortable. But then we read the chapter where it was revealed why he was uncomfortable.
Oh. Well,
so actually, we only have one spoiler, and it will be unspoiled in the next 2-3 chapters.
Okay, so pretty much, guys, if you haven't finished Covet, then you might want to listen for the howl that sounds like this. But assuming that you have finished Covet, you should be good to listen to the whole episode. So that's fun. I think this is the first time that we've been able to do that, where it's like it's safe to listen to. So
we haven't done the safe to listen to ones, but we definitely have done the unsafe to listen to ones, like the entirety of the Court ones.
Yeah, the whole
where
whole
it's
episode.
like, if you have not read Court, please do not listen.
Leave, abort mission.
I'm gonna have to listen to that episode on the plane, I think.
Yeah, like a little refresher.
Yeah, because it's a 2-hour flight, and I think if I can download the Spotify episode, I can listen to it and go, okay, now I remember where we left off.
And you don't have to reread the whole book.
No, there's no way that I could do that. I mean, it took me nearly 24 hours. I think it was something stupid. So yeah, I think I'll be all refreshed.
All right. So we left off with Grace had just talked to Flint about going to the Dragon Court. That way Flint could, have some friends around him bringing Luca. And we weren't sure if that was because he was, coming out to his parents, or if it was just meet my new boyfriend. I'm still unsure. I'm pretty sure that his parents knew, though, based on some things that come later. I do think that
not even just that. Yeah, I think that sometimes parents, if they're very vigilant parents, they know, and very open and honest parents to themselves as well. But yeah, the amount of times that I've seen my friends go to actually come out to their parents, and their parents are like, "Oh, thank God, you finally told us."
Right.
Jesus Christ,
we've known all along.
Yeah, we've been waiting for you to tell us so that we didn't have to act surprised.
Yeah.
But I do obviously know that it does go very, very, very differently for a lot of people, and my heart goes out to anybody who's in that situation. But we do know that Flint doesn't seem to be speaking from a place of fear. it's more of a place of like, I want my moral support to be there, not I can't tell my dad, or I'm not secure in my sexuality yet. He seems to be very comfortable with Luca, and he also seems to be very comfortable with all of his friends knowing, and he has never once said like that he is scared of telling his parents.
Yeah, it just seems to be nervous jitters, like new...
So maybe it's not actually coming out to his parents. Maybe it's that this is the person that, although I have been fawning after Jackson for a very, very long time, this is the person that's now making me happy. And it is almost like an approval thing from his parents rather than a coming out thing.
Yeah, because Neri knows that Flint likes Jackson. She's known all along.
Yeah. And also Jackson is he's from a place of like a high status court, whereas Luca is not. He's not from the royal family. So maybe it's definitely like an approval thing of like, mother, I wish to marry a peasant.
Well, Flint definitely has a type, which is vampires, and Neri obviously doesn't like vampires, so it might have also been a case of another vampire, really?
Yeah, maybe.
Because the dragons seem very anti-vampire. Or at least Neri does. So
well, I mean, she's kind of been given a lot of reasons to be anti-vampire. I don't think it's necessarily a racism thing.
No.
It's the other way around.
Yeah.
Like you can definitely start to begin to be very prejudiced towards a certain culture if all they have done to you is persecute you.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Grace wants to go talk to Jackson though, because she like realizes that during her birthday party, he gave her back the sketch. And ever since then, she's like had this feeling that, you know, something terrible is wrong. And this is, you know, last week we talked about Jackson cutting ties and how, you know, in the real world, those are big red flags for, you know, a potentially suicidal person, where they start kind of tying up loose ends and making it a point to apologize and give away belongings. And I think that she acknowledges that in a way where she's like, he's trying to cut ties.
Yeah, and there was the best sentence that, like, genuinely, now I've read it and I'm like, I am so glad she said it in the way that she said it. Because even though she's 17, she said it in a very adult, well, she's 18 now, 18 manner. And she said, I can tell something is wrong with him, something more than just our breakup, although I wouldn't dream of minimizing that pain to anybody. And that is a really adult sentence to say, is that, like, I know that there's something wrong with them. They are clearly upset about something, and I'm aware of it being an additional pain to the pain that he already is valid of feeling.
Yeah.
And that, I was like, yeah, like, I know people who are like, they've gone through a breakup and they go into depression, but it's not the breakup that is causing them the depression. They were already susceptible to depression anyway. The breakup just tipped them over the edge and back into that dark place. I'm glad that she seems to be quite intuitive towards that and is very aware of it already. But it is a bit sad that she doesn't get to have that conversation with him. That she seems to be very, like, every single conversation that you ever see in all YA and, to be honest, any movie, any kind of TV show, it's like, I need to tell you something. And that one person's I need to tell you something is way more than the other person, like, hold on, let me go first. And then they say something, and then the thing that actually needed to drive that conversation is lost. Yeah. And is never said. And if you are in those moments, please actually tell them, like, no, right now I need you to stop. Your thing may be more important, but if I don't say this now, I won't ever. and then just say it. Be brave and just say it, because the amount of times that something will happen for you to then just not or chicken out, it means that thing won't be said. And I mean, how many times do you get down, like a few chapters down the line? It's like, why didn't you say anything? You should have tried to at least say something. And no one ever goes, I did try, and then you distracted me with something else.
Yeah, and I don't like...
And ADHD is awful for that.
I don't like the direction that Grace went with it either, because she knows a lot of the pain that Jackson is experiencing is part of the breakup. It might not be the breakup itself, but it is definitely a result of the sequence of events that happened. But then Grace starts bringing up, like, their happy memories together, and that's not necessarily what you should do after. Like, if you want to sit and think of the good times, and you can think fondly back on a relationship and think, oh, at least, I can carry these positive memories, that's good for you. But I feel like bringing those memories up in conversation with that person who still obviously, is hurting over you, it kind of leads that person on a little bit to say, like, remember when we went and built a snowman? Remember when things were simpler? Like,
well, not even just when simple things were simple. She said when things were perfect.
Right.
Which then kind of makes anybody else listening to that conversation think that things aren't currently perfect with her. And I think what she's saying is that they aren't perfect between her and Jackson, but they never will be, because they don't have to be.
Yeah.
Like, me and Starla don't talk to each other all the time, and you don't always tell me the reasons why you fall into a pit of despair. But that doesn't mean that our relationship isn't working as a friend. It just means that you'll come to me and tell me when you are ready. And I go, oh, I did think you were quiet.
I didn't even notice. I didn't notice you were gone.
But yeah, it really, really frustrates me that she said the word perfect. Mm-hmm. Because that, like, if that was me in that situation as Jackson, I'd be like, ooh, so she's not happy with my brother.
Right, an opportunity.
Not that he takes it like that. He takes it quite badly.
Yeah.
In the way that he's like, oh, well, maybe it's even like, so even though it's not perfect with Hudson, you're still choosing to be with him and not me?
Right. And it was kind of like we were just silly kids back then. We were children.
That pissed me off.
Yeah.
That really pissed me off. That sentence of, we were children, Grace. And I was like, that comparing their relationship to almost like a childhood crush. Like, we were infantile and small, and
our relationship it was insignificant.
Yeah. Or we were fools. Mm-hmm. Because, like, children don't pick their boyfriends and girlfriends based on compatibility.
No.
They pick on accessibility.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right next to me because you sit next to me in class, so therefore we're boyfriend and girlfriend now. Or because somebody goes, oh, you're so cute together. Or because your parents call them your boyfriend or girlfriend. That also infuriates me. It's like, we're going to go and see his boyfriend Theo. And I'm like, why do you try and put a label on this thing? They're 5.
Right.
I mean, I do it with my dog, though.
The dog doesn't know.
No, he doesn't.
but Jackson saying, like, we were children, like, dude, that was just a couple months ago. You're still children. You haven't even graduated high school yet. You are still, I know that, like, when you graduate, that's like the signifier that you are an adult. And I remember feeling like I was an adult when I graduated. But as a 30-year-old, I look at those who are graduating high school and I'm just thinking, like, you guys are at the very beginning. You are still holding on to the essence of childhood. And you'll hold on to that, I would say, until, like, I don't want to say 25 because I felt like I maintained it until I was like 27, 28. And I think that once I started nearing 30, that's when I started realizing, like, oh shit, I'm an adult. Like, 25, I was like, yeah, I'm still in my 20s. Which,
I mean, I'm 29, and I feel very much like an adult whenever I go out and I go, like, for example, I go grocery shopping and the person serving me is quite clearly 16, 17.
yeah.
And I'm like, did I look like that? Did I look that young
Yep.
when I was 16, 17? And I'm like, I probably did. But to me, the age difference is almost exaggerated because we don't really hang out with any 16, 17-year-olds.
Yeah.
Because that would be weird.
I very much, I think about it and I'm like, I very much feel like a kid who puts on like big people clothes. I think I use this exact line in the channel where Vivian says, I felt like an imposter putting on big people clothes and going to big people work. Mm-hmm. Which is how I coast through life. I don't think that there is ever a point where you realize like, oh crap, I'm an adult. Like, I really do think that we maintain the essence of what we are our entire life. And there just comes a point where your body doesn't work the way it used to. And then that's the moment when you realize that you're older, which happened to me in my 30s. And I assume it'll happen again when I turn 40.
I also feel like and I don't know whether I've spoken this before because I definitely remember repeating it to a few different people, but I feel like we experience time in a different context to children as well. So a week for me passes in what I feel like used to be a day.
A blink.
As a kid.
Yeah.
When I was a kid and when I was specifically sort of 14, 15-year-old, the days seemed to not necessarily drag, but I had an entire wealth of time to be able to do things. Now I'm an adult and I'm like, there are not enough hours in the day. Where did those hours go as a kid? Because it can't all be energy related.
No.
Because I still have the energy. It's just that other things take your time up that as a kid you didn't really have to do. You had a schedule. I don't actually have a schedule. So maybe people who do have a schedule experience a lot more of the free time than I do.
No, I have a schedule and I don't feel like I have enough hours. Then again...
No, you don't. You don't. Because you don't leave the house to go to work and then leave work to come home. And then whatever is at home and whatever is at work because we both work 24/7.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's what I mean by a schedule. Not like we don't time block or separate our time. I just mean that kids, they go to school and then they come home from school and then that's their afternoon, that's their evening. And they can do whatever they want. They have to fit in homework, but they can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
And I'm like, when I don't have children and I still don't have the time that I would have had I had children.
Yeah.
You know, when you're like, I don't have to suddenly come up with a dinner plan for my child, and I don't have to sit and help them with their homework, and I don't have to try and make sure that they are dressed in the morning or had their breakfast or packed their bag or take them to the school bus. I don't need to do any of that, but I don't seem to have accumulated that time.
Here's the thing.
Else.
If that time was taken away from you, though, where you did have to suddenly do that, you would notice immediately. It's all about adaptability because it is very draining, but because it's second nature, because you do it for so long, it doesn't really feel like it because it just becomes a part of you, the same as taking a shower is a part of you, brushing your teeth is a part of you. You don't think about it because it just is. It's an activity that you know you have to do. So,
I also do definitely notice that time, although is very, very fast in some places, is also very like slowed down in others where I'm like, oh my God, I don't have time to do the dishwasher. I don't have time to cook dinner. And then I actually time myself. I check the time when I start and I check the time when I finish. And I'm like, that actually only took me 10 minutes. Why do I keep psyching myself up to think that it will be hours?
Right. I'm the same way.
And I'm like, okay, so maybe Jackson is experiencing adult emotions for the first time.
I don't know, because he's so old. Why would it feel we were children for 6 months for a paranormal should be a blink?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that he's experiencing the passage of time the same as a teenager would, but that would be an utter hell to be that old but be stuck for years in the state of like the mindset of a teenager, which is arguably, maybe your best experiences are when you're a teenager. Not me, and I'm assuming not you either, but for most, they say their teen years
No.
is their best. But, it is the part of your life when there's the most uncertainty, because there's the most evolution taking place in the brain. And that would just be a shit place to be stuck for, like...
Everything is heightened.
Yeah.
When you're a teenager, everything is heightened. All of your emotions. So the happier times are happier.
Yeah.
Because you have the hormones to fuel those happy moments. And I do look back on the times and I'm like, those like scent memories, the auditory memories, those are a lot stronger from when you're 14. For example, your music taste will always revert back to what you listened to when you were 14.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, what was it? Like, Jackson never had those years.
No.
Because they were so dragged out.
Yeah.
So his experience of being a child isn't the time frame between age 1 and age 16, 17. His is 100 and blah, blah, blah years.
I can't remember
So
exactly how old he was.
Suddenly he's an adult? Like, no, that doesn't make sense. But maybe it's because for the first time in his life, since Hudson is back, he's actually having to realize, okay, my entire paradigm has been shifted.
Yeah.
I thought my brother was evil, and now he is not, and I'm dealing with the fallout of him coming back to life, but I was the one that killed him.
Yeah. It's the first
because I thought he was evil.
Big responsibilities that Jackson has had, including, being mated to Grace, being responsible for Grace, having to make sure that Grace doesn't get killed based on, things that she was completely unaware of. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
And like he's going back to London continuously to almost make peace with his parents to stop things from happening. I mean, he doesn't seem to be doing a very good job of that. But yeah, just that whole like kind of exchange really frustrated me. Was just like nothing was actually communicated that should have been communicated, and almost they kind of insulted each other.
Yeah.
And Grace obviously goes to his room, and it's even worse than it was last time. There's even less in there. Like almost like he is moving out. He is preparing to go, and that should have fueled her conversation with him, and it just didn't. She just gave up.
Yeah, because she doesn't want to. She doesn't want to hurt him, but
yeah, and the way that he completely dismissed what she had to say anyway, because there was time to say these things. She goes, Jackson, I need to say some things, and he almost went, "Shut up, I'm going." Which is really dismissive of her, and you would never do that to someone that you love unless you are like in the most stressed moment ever, where you're like, "Please just shut up, I need to concentrate." But he just turns tail and leaves in like the most Batman-esque exit ever.
He jumps out the window and just disappears.
It's the nod and then jumps out the window back. I'm hoping it's backwards, diving off a diving board. It was this idiot. And it makes me wonder, like, does he, like, actually, like, stick the landing, or does he float off? Like, some weird, completely vertical standing up man.
I would float.
See, if he has, like, telekinesis, I would make sure that, like, I would lean into it and, like, almost get a broomstick and pretend I was a witch.
Or I would get like a Swiffer duster or an item that wasn't a broom and ride that instead.
Yeah, like I would have fun with it, but he doesn't seem to have any kind of humor.
No.
In him. Even when him and Grace were trying to make jokes with each other, like I swear he just Googled shitty jokes.
The thing is, he was very proud of himself every time he did make a joke. Like, it was like, am I doing it right? Like, am I being a funny?
No, you're not being a funny at all. You're being weird.
Yeah. But
yeah.
Anyway, so he's off to London because Delilah's mad about the last time that him and the Order went to the vampire court. Apparently, they left, like, in a hurry. So she's not impressed that he took off so fast, so now he's going back. Where would the vampire court be in London? Because we know where
there's so many old buildings. It could probably be like Tower of London or something. I mean, London is big, but it's not as big as some of your cities are. And it's mostly outskirts. Like, the centre of London is just a lot of bridges. And the landmarks are very spread out. Like, the Houses of Parliament, Big Ben, London Eye, Natural History Museum, Nelson's, Battle at the Trafalgar Square. Like, all of those are actually, like, really, like, spread out. You have to get a tube to each one. But there's no real, like, notable parts where you're like, yes, that would be where a vampire court would be. And I think that they wouldn't want to be in the centre of London. They want to stick out. But then I was like, oh, Cyrus likes to eat people. So maybe he wants, like, a constant flow of traffic.
Yeah, like the Volturi in Twilight having tours coming in.
But I was kind of thinking, like, maybe like an abandoned subway station, you know, like one of the ones where like they can just convince the train driver to stop at this station, and then it continues on, but it's not an actual official place.
Meals on Wheels.
Just waiting in the dark, like, yeah.
Do you think that the Queen was aware? Because in
don't mention the Queen.
in Helsing, which is my favorite, like, vampire anime, the Queen is, like, aware of the vampires. Like, the vampires are kind of secret, but she, like, works with them. Like, she's, like, super sweet and, like, loves the vampires because they do a service.
Maybe.
You should watch Helsing. There's all kinds of, everything takes place in London, so it's all references that go over my head. But yeah.
Well, I mean, it's not too hard.
Yeah.
I mean, our culture is very weird.
Yeah.
Very, very weird. And very old.
Yeah.
I mean, our Queen was probably older than your country.
Yeah. So Grace wakes up Macy the next day to go to the Dragon Court. And Macy's complaining, wanting to know why they always have to leave in the middle of the night. But they have to leave in the middle of the night because of Hudson. Because he'll get arrested if he's caught off of school grounds. Which, important to note that Neri promises Finn that the students will be treated like royalty. And that's the only reason why Finn is letting them go. More on that later. But my favorite lines were Grace saying to Macy, it's my job to make sure his ego is in check so he can always fit his head in the door. And then Hudson says, and it's my job to always push her buttons. And then Macy says, are you guys talking in some sort of sex code?
Which is weird, because all I was thinking about were elevators.
Yeah, pushing all the buttons.
Yeah. And apparently Hudson was, but Grace was unaware.
Pushing all her buttons.
Yeah. Yeah, like, she seems to be, like, unaware of just how filthy Hudson's comfortable talking around her.
Yeah.
Which is quite adorable, really. But maybe we'll find out just how far that goes within their relationship in Cherish.
Oh, I hope so. Last night me and Taylor read the chapter of Crush where Jackson asks Grace, does Hudson really know what color underwear you're wearing? And Hudson's like, yeah, black with white polka dots. You should wear the red ones next time. My daughter lost her mind for some reason. I don't know why she thought that part was so funny. We've done like the laundry room scene and everything already, but for some reason that particular line she thought was the funniest thing.
But maybe because she thinks that that's just a laughable pattern. Maybe she's like, well, may as well have Hello Kitty.
Right. Underwear are funny.
Lulu.
Yeah. But so they get to, because Grace doesn't know where the Dragon Court is. She's like the only one who doesn't know. But when they arrive, she realizes, oh crap, we're in the middle of New York City. And then they walk into this super fancy building, and it turns out that is the Dragon Court right in the middle of nowhere. Flint moseys right up to the reception desk where there's a older lady working who, you know, is hitting it off with him, who knows who he is and has apparently like watched him and his brother Damien grow up. But I noticed like Flint immediately, like when it comes to the older ladies, like he goes straight for the kill. Like he goes into
charm.
Yeah, he goes right in to woo them. And I was laughing at this because that's what my husband does when it comes to like if he is talking to anybody, like an older woman, like especially little old ladies, like he immediately like goes to charm them and get them flustered. And it's like, I don't know. I think that it's the cutest thing. Like when an little old lady gets like flustered and you can tell that like, you know what I mean? Like when you flatter a little old lady.
Yeah. I definitely think that it's something that men and boys who are definitely mummy's boys are able to do. They're able to achieve it very easily. And it's because they've managed to get away with everything for their entire life just by speaking in the right kind of way.
Well, and it was also, he's like, I want to see pictures of those grandbabies. Like when you tell a grandma that you want to know about their grandkids or you want to see photographs, like
panties are on the floor.
Exactly, because old ladies, they want to share. They want to share actually old men are the same way, but you know, I think that it's just nobody asks them like questions like that, and they have such a wealth of historical knowledge backed in their brain after years of walking this earth that when someone asks them to pop the cork and release some of those stories, they are just flattered that somebody is interested.
Yeah.
Because I'll be honest, I don't really, when it comes to like sitting and talking to grandma about old stories, like I wish that I'd done that with my grandmas. But the idea of sitting down with like an older person and like talking about like when I was a young child, I'm like, that sounds
It's
awful.
usually the same stories over and over and over again as well, because they've got to that repetitive loop. But the moment that you ask them about something that they did in their life, it's almost like they come alive.
Yeah.
And I do find that they also go off on a tangent as well, especially when they're not quite with it anymore, with either like Alzheimer's or dementia. They go off on a tangent, and it's really funny to just go, oh, what's the connection? Like,
right.
What was the thing that led them to completely different? And then they go, oh, and yeah, and I saw Tracy the other day, and she said it that you were the bestest son she's ever had, and I'm like, it's lovely to hear, but how did you get there? We were talking about chicken. What's going on? Yeah, no, talking to old people is really fun, and I think it only becomes boring when they're your own grandparents, because you've heard the same stories over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But the moment that they're gone, you'd give anything to listen to that boring story just one more time.
Or you think of I always think of the things that I didn't ask. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're usually the most interesting of characters because they've literally done everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Before that happens, I wrote down, I was like, I don't think that there's any city in the UK that I would be that excited to, like, just pop into and go, oh my God, Edinburgh? Oh my God. Yay.
yeah.
Like, they're all really nice and they're all really, really pretty, but there's nothing that I'm like, oh my God, I would have never come here had it not been for this turn of events.
But you're surrounded by things that are arguably more historically interesting in terms of architecture and things. But in the U.S., if we were leaving the country, we'd have Canada and Mexico, which, you know, yay, Canada. We've got some really interesting things in the U.S. We do have New York City. We've got, I mean, every state is almost like its own country. You've thinking about somebody from New York and then thinking about somebody from Texas. You don't even live in the U.S., but you can picture something in your head, I'm assuming. Mm-hmm. And it's probably very stereotypical and not at all indicative of the majority of the people who live there, because I lived in Texas.
I think I definitely have a washed down version of the stereotype. Not because I am trying to be woke, but because I obviously don't know all of the stereotypes. Like, we can't tell the difference between your accents. To us, like, we can tell whether you're from the South.
That's how it is for most people.
But that's about it. Yeah.
But
like, we wouldn't be able to tell East from West. It would only be if we, for example, watched a TV show which we knew was based in California, and then therefore any accent that we heard that sounded like that TV show, we would kind of go, okay, maybe they're West Coast.
California isn't very different than Ohio. Ohio, you occasionally get somebody that has a bit of a Southern accent, but that's not indicative of, you know, of anything really, because Ohio has so many. Ohio is such a saturated state. Nobody realizes that, but we have, in terms of population, we have, not obviously not comparing to like California and stuff, but we are one of the most populated states. But if I said, you know, picture somebody from Jersey, you know, you could you could give me the Jersey accent. Brooklyn, you know, the New York accent. You got that.
But I'd be able to give the accents, but I wouldn't be able to come up with an image of them.
They don't have, I mean, they kind of just look like white people. Like, they're, and not to say that they're all white, but when you are like looking at like most of those stereotypes, like a Texan, most people are picturing.
Just think of Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah,
I think genuinely is like, okay, think of somebody from Boston. Mm-hmm. Well, obviously Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, my brain goes, okay, that person, what do they sound like when they speak? Okay, that person.
Yeah.
But if you gave me an accent just like straight up with no context, I would really struggle.
Yeah.
But mainly because they all kind of merge into one. Like, you wouldn't say that. See, this is where I'm going to show my ignorance. But like Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, like all of those accents to me are very, very, very similar.
The farther south you get, the more muddy the accent. It sounds
muddy.
It sounds like the Southern accent. It's almost like a Southern accent with a mouthful of marshmallows.
Okay.
That's the only way that I know how to describe it. The accents get muddier because you get more into like the
less clear
bayou, swamp, you know, like Remy, you know, he adds in some
Cherie.
Yeah, he adds in the different dialect and stuff. But anyway, oh, and so the secretary lady, I can't remember her name. I just read it and I can't remember it. What was your note about her offering Flint? She said that she picked up some cookies on the way for him because she knew he was coming.
She didn't. She didn't say that.
She said
that was contextually understood by you. So Flint said she used to bring the best cookies to us as kids. Then she pipes up and goes, "Oh, and also I got these for you." And he goes, "Oh, don't tell me they're those black and whites." And I'm like, "Excuse me?"
So you don't have black and white cookies?
No. And I only know what they are because you told me last year when I asked exactly the same question when I read through Covet for the first time.
Oh. Do you have a group chat?
You don't know what they are. Well, I know what they are now, but I can open the group chat.
I just sent you a picture. It's basically a boring cookie that is half white icing and half chocolate icing. Or
yeah, we don't have those.
Tuxedo cookies?
They look like the Pringles man without a face.
Kinda. Sure. Yeah. Anyway. So the whole crew is about to go to their rooms. They're heading to the elevator when, bam, elevator doors open and it's Neri and her guards. And immediately she's just like, seize him. And
Seize him.
And obviously they're there for Hudson. And then the whole crew is just like, nuh-uh, you're not taking our boy. And Hudson's like, now wait a minute. So.
Yeah. I think it's like the amount of like emotion that Hudson starts displaying when everybody is like, you gotta go through me first. And they say, and me. They all stand like, no. And I was expecting like Gimli to come out, and my axe.
Here's the thing, that line has been so ruined for me from people dubbing it over, and my ass, that it's been ruined. But my favorite was Eden. She just comes in so
like, Hudson's 10 million times the man your son was.
Oh
bitch.
My God. She comes in and she's like,
wow.
to be honest, Neri, your son, kind of a douche. He had it coming. And by the way, Hudson is 10 times the man that your dead son was. Like, oh, damn.
Burn.
Eden.
Would you like some aloe vera for that?
Oh, shit, girl. She ripped into Neri, and Neri was not impressed. So she's like, okay, well, in that case, you can go down to the dungeons with him. And Flint's like...
And then suddenly Flint is like, hey, freedom of speech, y'all.
Freedom of speech.
We can't be like Cyrus and arrest people because they disagree with us.
And Neri's like, the hell we can. But the guards were looking a little bit,
yeah. They
were like, wait a minute.
Yeah, and I think Grace goes like, whoa, Neri, this is very uncalled for. She's like, that's Queen Neri to you. And I'm like, oh, pulling rank. Oh.
She got spicy. Yeah, but Hudson's like, now, I will go willingly if you let my friends go. And Neri looks at his cuff like, haha, because he threatens to bring the whole building down. And she looks at his cuff, and then he just unlatches it and it falls to the ground. So he hasn't been cuffed this whole time.
He's had his powers the entire time.
And Grace is just like, we're going to talk about this later.
Thing is, she'll have no idea whether he's been using his powers at all or not, because how would you know?
Yeah.
I'd like to think I'd know.
I don't know. I think that defeats the purpose of the power.
And yeah, essentially, Neri leads Hudson away in cuffs, new cuffs that actually work. And she kind of suddenly goes, all right, shall I show you to your rooms? Like, complete, like, 180 flip.
Yeah.
To her new guests. And Grace just, like, kicks up a stink the entire time she's being taken to her room. And she pretends to be undoing her suit, like rummaging through her suitcase just so she has something to do, whilst Neri just stands awkwardly at the door.
You didn't
she's
stop
like,
at chapter 73. I didn't read that chapter.
Yeah.
That was you said stop at 73. I read to 72.
Oh, so you didn't get to her room?
No, just Hudson getting taken away.
Well, nothing really happens in that.
Okay, well.
Grace is like, absolutely, you are not shutting my door. Because Neri goes to, like, shut the door, and Grace suddenly gets that panic of...
being locked up again. And it's essentially just a stalemate between her and Neri, where Neri goes to shut the door, and Grace goes, no thank you, and shoves her stone arm and foot between the door frame. She's like, no thank you. And she went, oh, okay. And apparently Neri didn't even look offended. She was just like, interesting. I'm intrigued. Yeah. I don't think that it was, I can remember reading this from the last, 3 times that I've read Covet, but I think that Grace underreacted. I would have been
kicking up shit.
Yeah, I would have been a terror if somebody took my man and was just like, and now would you like to go to your rooms? Would anyone like refreshments? Like, no.
The thing is, I think that Grace is, as much as she's like, okay, yeah, I want to go with Hudson and I want to protect Hudson, I think she's also like, if I'm with Hudson, I'm also imprisoned and I can never get him out. Whereas right now I kind of have...
Right.
I have not just got, like, diplomatic ability to get him out. I might be able to persuade Neri to let him out. But also I can still get him out because I still have my powers.
Yeah.
Whereas if she's in a prison cell with him, she's also cuffed and she probably doesn't even know whether she would have her powers still then.
Yeah.
But the fact that Hudson, like, had clearly had his powers the entire time and still didn't use them, Neri should have known that something was a bit weird.
Yeah.
Like, Hudson and his, like, all-ending evil. And it's like, haha, ta-da, see? I've been free this whole time.
For months.
Now you may handcuff me.
Yeah.
She seems to be definitely acting upon, like, a heated revenge rather than justice.
Wait a minute.
Rather than being a queen.
How did Hudson get his cuff off? Was it broken all along?
That's a spoiler.
Oh, I couldn't remember. Okay, we'll save that.
That's a spoiler.
Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and get into...
Well, there's one more thing.
Oh.
And that is Grace begins to distrust Flint again. Because obviously she's like, how did this happen? Flint invited us to this event where we thought that we would be safe. We got assured by Uncle Finn and by Neri and by Flint that we would all be treated like royalty and that we wouldn't have anything to fear. And the moment that we step out of the portal, you arrest him. And Flint also doesn't react to Neri arresting him.
I think
it's only when Eden goes.
Yeah, I think that the reason is because they just talked about his brother, and then he had that memory of him and his brother running through that lobby, like playing, and it was so fresh in his mind because he returned to court and he got overwhelmed with the memories of his brother, that in that moment, even though him and Hudson were already like cool with each other, the memories made him start to, revert back.
But also, like, that moment, she wasn't acting like a mother to him. She was acting like a queen.
Yeah.
And maybe he just kind of felt like she would pull rank and do it regardless of what he said anyway. And then when Grace accuses him, or, like, at least asks him, like, did you do this? Did you have a hand in this? He just kind of flails around like a fish and goes, So I'm not surprised Grace starts to have her doubts about Flint again, but at the same time he had such much like character development and literally had that time on the tower and things like that, and I'm like, I wish she had just a bit more faith in him because he's obviously redeemed himself. And wouldn't you also be shocked at the way that your mother acted if that happened?
Yeah.
And just be like, whoa, where did this come from? Like, I thought she was over it. And kind of almost embarrassed as well that you have invited your friends as guests to this house on the assurance that they would be safe, and then your mum literally contradicts you the moment that you walk through the door.
Yeah.
So anyway, spoilers.
Spoilers. Okay.
A woo, 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 woo.
A woo, a woo, a woo. These are all yours. But, well, both yours. I guess one is we've already kind of covered.
Hudson talks about his cuffs, and I think it's when he's in the Ethereum, when he tells, before the Ethereum, he tells Grace how he does it, because she asks him, did you manage to do it again? And he's like, no, these are different. He disintegrated a element of the clasp as they were being put on.
Got it.
But yeah, apparently he was completely unable to do that in the prison. And then therefore that was one of the reasons why they were so like, oh shit.
So
we're truly cuffed.
Katmere has the off-brand knockoff, the Walmart, the Great Value cuffs.
Well, it wasn't that. It was that it completely separated them from their other entities as well. It wasn't just a magical cuff of like magical dampeners or removing your abilities. It separated you from your alter ego.
Yeah, your paranormal side.
So yeah, maybe they were just a bit more heightened. Because I mean, obviously, you wouldn't use the same handcuffs in a prison as you would with an elementary school.
I mean, they do have chains and shackles in the basement.
Yeah, maybe that's for a different reason, though. Those kids are horny.
I think that they're from the Dragon Court, when the Dragon Court was located at Katmere Academy.
I see. I still have that, like, they're for the werewolves when they're training on how to...
Not be naughty.
Bad dog.
Bad doggy. On the chain.
So yeah, the other spoiler that I had to say was like, why does Hudson look uncomfortable when he's going through the portal? Because Grace almost like dismisses it. It's like, oh, maybe I invented it. And it wasn't. It was because he knew he was about to face the mother of someone he killed.
Yeah. Oh.
Which is really like sad that he knew that it was coming.
Which he could have handled it better with Neri, I think. I think that rather than going immediately on the defense, he could have, tried to be a little bit more diplomatic in his approach. But he immediately, he did say that he would go with her. But I don't think that he handled it in the best way. Maybe leading with an apology.
Based on what he did, yeah, and I mean based on what actually happened as well when he sat in the dungeons, making the guards play bally, whilst Grace is shitting herself, thinking that something bad has happened to him. He's literally made the guards just roll the ball between each other, and he's been free this entire time, but he was just waiting. So. Did he have complete faith in Grace to get him out anyway, or was he just waiting for his fate? He was like, I'm free right now in terms of I'm not currently in a cell, but I am just waiting for my dad to turn up. Because what was his plan? He didn't leave.
I think that he probably assumed that they would get him out.
But then he was really surprised when Grace turned up.
But it was Grace by herself, all on her own.
Yeah. I think we'll have to get to those chapters to, remind ourselves. But yeah.
All right.
And yeah, those are my only spoilers. We're basically covered in the next couple of chapters. But I'm very much looking forward to reading Grace's debate with Neri, where she's trying to convince Neri to let Hudson back out and that she needs to join the fight against Cyrus. And she also finds out how to escape the prison as well, in a very cryptic way.
Yeah, Grace gets super sass talking to Neri. She really, that's one of the first times that she like starts sharts. That's the first time that she sharts. No, that's
no one wants that.
it's the first time that she starts actually like defending her position as queen. Like she starts acting more like a queen of her own court. So
yeah.
So next week's episode, Amber, are you going to attempt to like set up your phone like with a little tripod and record your interview with Tracy?
I'm hoping so. It all depends on whether she's able to give me an interview, because we don't know quite what either of our schedules are going to be like once I get there. I'm going to message her and just kind of find out what she's doing. And either way, I'm going to try and ask whether I can record, because it says that I'm not allowed recording software within the book signing either.
Oh.
So it definitely has to be a separate event.
Play it by ear. If you have to do it like a written thing, we could maybe cover the interview in our next episode. If you're able to record, that would be better, because we can just make your interview our next episode and then the viewers could watch it on YouTube. So we don't know what next week's episode is going to look like. It will either be...
Better bring my hair straighteners.
It'll either be about episode or our next chapters with the Dragon Court, or it'll be Amber's interview with Tracy. So we will see. And if not, it'll just push our normal weekly episode back by 1 week, because you'll get a super special exclusive episode, the Tracy edition.
Yeah, the Tracy edition.
Yes.
Ooh, it may be like the closest she'll ever be to the UK and the podcast right now.
I know.
But yeah, hopefully one day we'll actually be able to invite her onto one of the episodes.
She gave me her email address. It's just... I don't want to bother her when she's in the middle of writing a book that I know has a deadline.
Also, she's on tour. Like, she's currently in Spain now. She's in Madrid.
I saw.
So I also know that like she's not able to just suddenly jump onto doing a recording interview.
Right.
But yeah, I will try and do it on my phone, and if not, we'll come up with something else.
All right. Well, guys,
maybe she can record it on her phone.
Each of you record.
Yes.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for listening. We don't know what next week is going to look like, but hopefully there is a super fun episode in store for you guys. And until then, feel free to join the Crave the Book Podcast tea room so that you can talk about the tour, and maybe Amber can share some pictures and things in there. But I guess we will talk to you all next week. Bye-bye.